Hello, everyone. Welcome to Insights with the Experts. This is our exclusive one-on-one video interview series here at BluChip. Very excited to welcome our guest today, Noah Glantz from Korn Ferry Sports. Noah has a very relevant story. He's a former student athlete. In the very early part of his career, he's had a lot of success going back to high school, certainly in college, and now in the workforce. As an executive recruiter. Noah, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Brian. Really excited to be here and speak with you today.
Yeah, really appreciate you making time for us, Noah. So if you can, would you start by telling us a little bit about your background as a student athlete? What sport did you play, and how did that shape your early professional career?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Westchester, New York. Went from a town called Scarsdale. History of, college athletes who a lot of them, went to high academic colleges. So think of, your NESCACs, your Patriot Leagues, Ivy League schools. And, coming out of high school, I knew I wanted to play football. I was, had a really good high school experience. And when looking at colleges, I looked at predominantly at those high academic D3 schools, in the NESCAC. And originally, talking to all the NESCACs, I think for anyone who has been to a NESCAC school, you probably talked to a few of them, and originally thought I was going to end up at one of the other NESCAC schools. It was Hamilton College, so apologies to any Continentals out there. But thought I was going to go to Hamilton, and what was exciting was I was going to have the opportunity to play immediately. And that to me was a great opportunity. I wanted to play. Nobody wants to go to college and not play. However, a couple days before things were looking, official and, early decision was coming out, I got a call from the Trinity coach and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming and taking a visit here? We'd love to, have you and discuss." And at that point, I had heard that Trinity was, really strong football school in the NESCAC and had a history of winning and traditions, but maybe it was going to be a longer road to actually getting some playing time. And while I would have loved to have gotten the playing time, maybe my freshman year, there's something about being part of a winning tradition and being part of a team that knows how to win. And I never won a state championship in high school, and I knew that I wanted to be part of that winning tradition. And based, I think what I'm going to continue to tell you later on about my background, being a winner is really important, and to go to a school that has that winning tradition was something that shaped me, throughout my college experience and into my, my early career here at Korn Ferry. So, like I said, went through college, played football, part of a winning team, but never really got on the field early on. COVID hit, and there was a bit of a break in time where some people said, do I really want to continue to train? Do I really want to continue to go through practices when we're not going to play because a lot of the schools, the NESCAC schools, the Ivy League schools canceled, their seasons then. And a group of my friends decided they were not going to play, but then the other group of us said, we didn't do this for no reason. We're here to play and we're here to work through this. So we did, winter and spring practices in the cold at 5 a.m. And eventually got to play once the pandemic was over, and fortunately, won 2 championships to finish out my career, and it was a great experience, and got to be a part of that winning tradition and got to contribute to that winning tradition as well. Because it's one thing just to be on the ride, on for the ride, but there's another part of actually being able to shape that and really contribute to it.
Yeah, so that's a great segue, Noah, how, your experience as a student athlete really helped shape your approach to academics, I imagine. And it sounds like time management, right? Practicing year round in the cold, right? 5 a.m. Talk about that for a moment, if you can. Time management, yeah, and how being a college athlete really helped you, I guess, master that skill.
Yeah. being a football player at a Division III, strong academic school, sometimes you got to remind yourself that you're actually there for college and not for your sport, despite what, maybe you want to think. And, one of the things that my coach instilled in us was that, we're here for college and not for football at the end of the day. And one of the experiences that shaped me the most was at the beginning of every semester, our coach has the people with the highest GPAs going, starting at a 3.0. He reads up to 4.0, and he has the people, when he reads out GPAs, you stand up when you reach your GPA. So everyone knows what everyone's
That's
GPA
cool.
has.
That's pretty cool.
And my first semester, I wasn't exactly, the highest GPA student, but seeing the rest of the people on my team who were not only great football players, but also great students made me realize how important it was going to be, because I wanted to be one of the people who was the last person to stand up when he got to, a 4.0 GPA. And so I learned time management. I understood that there are things that are more important. The most important thing is school, and you got to make time for it. So that's going to be spending time in the library. Knowing how you operate is going to be really important. So for me, I kept a planner, an agenda, and I was writing down everything in my day, adding appointments, whether that's practice, whether that's, time in the athletic trainers, whether that's class, whether that's dedicated time with a professor. I logged all of that, because if you separate school and you separate football, you're gonna miss things, and they're not gonna, it's not gonna fit together in a nice way. So I put everything together in one calendar, in one thing. So I saw it for when I wake up in the morning, I got lift in the morning, and then I got class, and then, I have a chunk of time. And rather than just say, okay, I got 30 minutes, in between lift and in between my next class, I actually put in a block in my calendar that says go to library. Because if you don't plan to go and you don't actually say to go, chances are something's going to come up. Hey, you want to go, play a quick game of Madden. You want to go get some food, whatever it is. Things will always come up. There's always going to be something that comes up. So if you don't actually write it down, you don't actually put it down in your calendar, things will fill up that time. And that's something that I've learned, especially, now in my career as well.
Time management is a skill that many professionals learn during their career. And I think that's one of the things that sets the student athletes in general apart, right? They learn that while they're in college, and they become experts at it because of everything that's in the calendar. In fact, one time recently, I was on a call like this with a student athlete, and I said, "Hey, do me a favor, show me your phone, show me your calendar." And literally, Noah, like every block, just as you described, was taken, and reminders throughout the day too. So I marvel at that skill.
Yeah.
All right. So transitioning now to the workforce. Was recruiting, especially executive recruiting, something you always had in mind, or did it sort of evolve over time?
Yeah, my path was a little bit non-traditional to get here. I think part of that was I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do coming out of college. I think COVID had an impact as well, because originally I thought, oh, maybe I'll go to med school. That's what I had been studying. I quickly realized if you're not 110% in for med school, it's not something to just kind of walk into. So I said, all right, if I'm not sure what I want to do yet, how can I continue to learn a lot about it, a lot of different industries, and give myself some time to figure out what I want to do next? And I actually, went into consulting first at Korn Ferry, but doing, your management consulting that you might think of at a McKinsey or, a BCG, and started there. I worked across all industries, and it was a great way for me to learn a ton about some great skills, like you said, project management, how to build a beautiful PowerPoint, Excel, and some of those skills that are going to set me up later on, but also gave me some time to figure out, okay, what do I want to do next? While I learn about all these different industries, about all these different companies, and all that, really the world of work has to offer.
I know I told you we were going to talk about the workplace, and I appreciate that. But I want to go back for one thing I forgot to ask is internships.
Yeah.
Did you have internships during college? And if so, how did you go about getting them?
Yeah. I can say that every single one of my internships came through a connection that I developed, through the Trinity College alumni network. Spent a lot of time working with my career counselor, who not directly someone connected to the football team, but someone that I went and sought out at the Trinity Career Center. Found people in the Trinity network who were in, actually psychology or in medical studies, doing research, because that's what I originally thought I wanted to do. And I spent some time doing research at a few different hospitals, also learning some great skills, but also realized maybe it wasn't what I wanted to do later on. And that's the beautiful thing about an internship is, while it's the great way to figure out if it's something you want to do, it's the quickest way to figure out if it's something you don't want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, good point.
And doing data entry was just not what I wanted to spend, another 5 years doing, as people who are doing, med school or research figure out. So, when I decided that, okay, maybe I was going to try consulting, and it would be a great way for me to, learn about some other industries, learn about some other things to do. Once again, worked with my career counselor and found Korn Ferry had an internship in organizational strategy, very broad consulting internship. But rather than apply directly, I said, how can I find, someone who works at Korn Ferry that might be able to support me, or that I can learn more about to tailor my application? So the first thing I did was went on LinkedIn and said, okay, going on Korn Ferry's LinkedIn page, who went to Trinity College? And I found 3 alumni who went to Trinity College. 2 of them I had, very little connection with. One happened to be a former Trinity College football player. I spoke to my coach. He put me in touch within 20 minutes. I was on the phone with him and spoke to him and got great insight into Korn Ferry, great insight into how to shape my application, and great insight into how to, go about the interview process when I actually got that. And that was instrumental in helping me get that first internship, which I then turned into a full-time job after graduating. That was my last internship before graduating, in between my junior and senior year. And then, started full-time right after that. And I've been here since.
Great. I mean, you actually took the words right out of my mouth with my next question, which was about networking. It sounds like your experience was a little bit different. First off, obviously you recognized the importance of networking, but you networked in that regard very specifically with a specific company in mind, which is great. In general, what advice would you give, Noah, to student athletes today who don't have a lot of time to network, may not necessarily know which company or even which industry they want to pursue, but what advice would you provide in terms of networking?
Yeah, I know it can be a pain with how little time, we student athletes have. However, networking is the most important thing you can do to help set you up for success. Send LinkedIn messages, but don't send out very generic messages. Take the extra minute. I know that, like I said, we're time crunched, but it only takes an extra minute or two to personalize that message and to, really create a strong connection with a person. Because people as busy as you are, people who are working full time are 10 times as busy, and they get a million messages every week. Spending the extra minute or two to put a little personal touch on it makes a huge difference in them opening that message and actually responding and giving you 30 minutes. Once you actually have those 30 minutes, the last thing you want to do is waste their time. They're here, they've given you time. Make sure that it's valuable for you and also not feeling wasteful for them. Come with specific questions. Do a little bit of research beforehand on their company, about the industry. If you make it, too general and just say, okay, this sounds interesting, how can I get a job at your company? They're going to have no interest in helping you get a job. They want to help you as much as possible. They're giving you time, but you have to show why they should care about you. And that's going to come by showing you're prepared, showing you're someone that they would want to vouch for by being prepared, and someone that takes the time of day to also thank them afterwards for their time. That is also a really crucial thing, and can also lead to a second or third conversation, or help you get the next conversation with their coworker. I would say that's another huge thing. Every time you finish a conversation, I'd recommend, okay, I appreciate your time. Who are 3 people who you could put me in touch with who, either work at your company or are in your network of similar companies. If they don't have time to help you necessarily, it's very easy for them to just give you 3 people who would also be willing to speak to.
Yeah, again, that's just an extension of networking. And I can tell you with experience that if you, as a hiring manager or someone who has direct or indirect control over human resources, if a student athlete or an early career professional asks for help like that, very rarely is someone going to turn that down. You also made another good point about research. I think it's important to go into these calls having researched not only the individual, but also the company that he or she works at. And then sometimes we forget, right? We're all humans, and you want to go into those sessions, be it 30 minutes or even less, armed with questions, as you pointed out, Noah, because people like to talk about themselves more than anything, right? So you want to sort of hit that nerve too, where you're flattering people while at the same time you're trying to get information from them. Really good stuff. Last question for me, Noah. If you could provide advice to current student athletes who may not necessarily know what career path they want to pursue after graduation, what would that be?
I think it's a few things, and I've hit on them already. I would say talk to as many people as possible who are in the industries, those conversations or informal meetings, offer to get people coffee. That $3 coffee will pay dividends later on for you. And then the other thing is, you won't really know if you like to do something until you try it. So, internships I know can be challenging to get, but trying to secure an internship is the best way to really know if this is something you want to do later on. And be open-minded. I think a lot of times, if you want to do one career and you can't get an internship in that specific career, it can feel discouraging that you'll never get an opportunity there. But there are oftentimes opportunities in adjacent careers or companies where you can gain experience and some, like I said, gain some experience on your resume, and then find a way to pivot into that career or industry you really wanted to do originally.
Great stuff, Noah. This has been super. I think almost everything we talked about today is very relevant to student athletes. And coming from you in particular, I mean, you're an early career professional. Obviously, you've had a lot of success trying different things, right? I think it's really great to hear your story because it's particularly relevant to the upperclassmen that we work with on a regular basis. So I thank you for the time. This has been super helpful.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.